and welcome to this week's edition of Random Shit, Random Guy. As always, I'm your host, Phil, and we are late, and I apologize for that. Normally, we do this show. I'm going to take these off because I don't need them. Um, Normally, this show goes live at 8 p.m. on Thursday. I pride myself on that, but this week was a little different because life got in the way, and I do want to apologize. We're an hour later than normal, but hey, we're here. We got a lot to fucking talk about, and I just wanted to get into that before. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Helps us out a lot. As of right now, let's see where we're at on YouTube. I want to say we're almost at 550 followers. 548 followers on YouTube right now. I want to thank each and every one of you who watched this video, and hopefully you're one of those. If you're not already subscribed, hit that button and share it with a friend. That's word of mouth is the best way to share this podcast, and we've got a lot coming up this weekend. It is Double or Nothing weekend. It is also Saturday night's main event. I believe it's the last one that takes place on Peacock. I might be wrong about that, but this one definitely does take place on Peacock. So got a lot going on in the wrestling world, and I wanted to go ahead and touch base with you guys, talk a little bit. I do want to let you guys know my Double or Nothing prediction video will come out tomorrow, probably around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, so keep an eye on the channel. I want to make sure I got time to push this video through the socials before the other one comes through, so it's not just one after another. So I am worried about that, but hey, if it happens, it happens. C'est la vie, whatever. Let's start off this episode with the thing everybody in the wrestling world is talking about, and that is El Grande Americano. Excuse me. And that is Ludwig Kaiser's arrest. Last night, around the post-show time of AEW going off, rumors first started coming out that Kaiser had been arrested, and at first people was taking it one direction, and there was a lot of rumors come out, but Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful.com broke the news that Ludwig Kaiser had been arrested on battery charges, and it was not a domestic violence situation. So that right there kind of helped him out a lot. But more and more kept coming out to the point where AAA had planned on having an event for him this weekend, or actually today. I forgot what it was called, but AAA planned on having a event in Mexico to celebrate the mask versus mask match, which is supposed to take place on the 30th in Mexico City, I believe is where they're doing that. They had to cancel that because, well, as of right now, Ludwig Kaiser, real name Marcel Barthel, has been arrested on battery charges in Orlando, Florida. At this time, he has pleaded not guilty to the allegations, which involve a neighbor who was evidently he was sharing an elevator with one of his neighbors, and Kaiser and his girlfriend, who is one of the Mexican, what do you call that? Interviewers in AAA, if I'm led to believe correctly. He's dating somebody that works in AAA, and they were aggressively making out, according to the allegations that come out. And according to the neighbor's response, was uncontrollably intimate, was his exact words that he put in the affidavit. Now, they did go through and show him a lineup of several people, which he did identify Ludwig Ludwig Kaiser as the alleged perpetrator. Now, as of right now, according to this is the Florida statutes. Um, it is a battery charge is felony battery. It is an offense of battery which occurs when a person actually or intentionally touches or strikes another person to cause bodily harm. So that is what the charges are. So this could be a felony charge. As of right now, the affidavit for the arrest, which is available online, and I actually have it. Well, you can't see it, but right here I'm reading from it. This says that I want to say the event took place last month. It said, let's see here. I'm trying to find exactly the written statement. So evidently, it says, this is when the officer, on April the 23rd, 2026, which was a month ago, at approximately 6:37 p.m., I believe that's right, 18:37, I believe 6:37 p.m., an officer responded to I'm not going to dox him there, but they already kind of did, the apartment complex in which both Kaiser and the victim live. And it says, upon arrival, I made contact with the victim, Richard Reap. Reap stated he was battered by an unknown white male just outside of the elevator on the 12th floor. Reap advised that approximately 18:30, so 6:30 p.m., he entered the elevator and was followed by an unknown white male and an unknown white female. Reap stated that as the elevator ascended, the male and female began acting in an uncontrollable, intimate manner in which he described as aggressively kissing. Reap stated that once the elevator reached the 12th floor, he exited the elevator and told the couple, please have some manners. Reap advised that immediately after that statement, the unknown male began attacking him. Reap described the attack as the male punching him multiple times and pushing him to the ground. Reap further stated that the male made threats of additional violence toward him. Reap advised that he believes the suspect is a resident in the apartment building and stated he wished to pursue legal charges. The officer said, I observed a large scratch on the back of Reap's head, along with redness in the same area, consistent with a recent physical altercation. While Reap was completing a sworn statement, they reviewed the surveillance footage from the 12th floor, observing a white male punching and pushing Reap outside the elevator at the time which was reported. At approximately 21, that's around 10 p.m., around 11 p.m., I believe, they returned to conduct a photo lineup in which they basically showed him the photo, which he identified as Marcel Barthol, which is Ludwig Kaiser from the WWE, aka El Grande Americano, who is scheduled to have a huge match in Mexico on the 30th, just 9 days away. And Ludwig has, Kaiser has pleaded not guilty, and he is out on $1,000 bond. His attorneys are working with the Florida cops, whatever. He paid the $1,000 bond, and they're working to get him to where he can travel and work still. At the time of the warrant, when it came in, which came in on the 19th, Kaiser was in Mexico preparing for his event, which was supposed to take place today. He then flew back to Orlando, Florida, and that is when he voluntarily went in to the court, um, voluntarily gave himself up. So that's what we know so far. There are several rumors going around. Like I said, as of right now, he's scheduled to have a in Monterrey, Mexico, May 30th, AAA's Noche de los Grandos event. He's scheduled to have a mask versus mask match that night, which is basically the highest blow off match you can have in Mexico. So as of right now, we don't know if he can travel. We don't know if he's going to be in Lexington tomorrow night for SmackDown. We don't really know much of anything outside the fact that he has requested to be able to travel, and we don't know if he's going to be able to travel. I would hate for them to lose this match. I think it needs to happen in Mexico, so if they have to push it around this, I hope that they do that. My thing is, if the rumors are true, and this is all rumors, speculation, I don't know shit. I know what you know. I literally read to you what the courts have. But suppose there are rumors that there was racism thrown around and the word ICE thrown around, and that is why he attacked the man. I don't fucking know. It's hard to tell because you're never going to know what happened on the elevator. And that's really the only defense outside of Kaiser's girlfriend. That's the only evidence that you're going to have. And most likely that's going to be hearsay. So all you're going to have is the evidence that happens when they get onto the elevator and when they come off the elevator, unless if this elevator happens to have a camera, and it doesn't appear that it did. So I have a feeling, I don't think it's going to go to felony charges, but I do think if this guy wants to be a dick about it, then yeah. But I really hope that Kaiser is able to perform. And I hate to be this fucking dick, but it's like, it's a dude fighting another dude. It happens. Could alcohol be involved? I don't know. It's very likely it is a wrestler. Every wrestler I pretty much know does like to have tip a few. And the guy was at his home property going back to his house. As of right now, it's believed that he can't even stay at his own residence because this guy being there. So he's not able. Kaiser's not able to stay in his own home. He's out on bail, and we don't even know if he can leave the state of Florida. So that is what we know right now. If and when, well, when, because we're gonna know something. But when we find out something, I will post a video, a short something to keep you guys updated on what is going on in the Kaiser situation within the WWE. Like I said, this is a big week for them. 9 days away from what could have been his biggest blow-off match. I mean, this is probably going to be his biggest match of his career, which would have been Kaiser versus Gable. And I know in the States that doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but in Mexico, you know, Ludwig Kaiser is a fucking baby face like crazy, and Chad Gable is the heel of all heels. And the only way in Mexico you blow off this kind of match is mask versus mask, so that we know who the real El Grande Americano is. And I have a feeling that we are not going to know. Well, we do know who it is, but in storyline, I don't think we're going to find out who El Grande Americano actually is on the 30th, unless they can work out something to get him to where he can travel. Now, if he can travel, I think you're going to get a fucking banger of a match. And I think you're definitely going to get Gable to be unmasked. Worst case scenario, you have this match on television. So that's worst case scenario that it happens in the States. But I do think you're going to get this match. I just don't know how long you're going to have to wait. But the fact that they had a event scheduled for him in Mexico City today tells me that as of right now they do not know what the fuck is going on. They were planning on having a musical performance in his honor. I think it is pronounced a yeah, I can't. I'm not even going to try and do that. But yeah, they had an event, like I said, in Mexico. It was a musical event for El Grande Americano, and they had to cancel it because he can't be there. So that's what we know so far. When we find out more, I will let you know. But let's move on from Kaiser to Monday Night Raw. What little bit that I'm going to talk about, which is only one thing really on Raw that I wanted to talk about. And that is the return of Brock Lesnar. Yes, you heard me right. I said the return of Brock Lesnar. Brock had the perfect retirement coming out of Mania. Was it a work? Was it not a work? I don't know. But we know now he's back, and he didn't accept the open challenge, but he took the open challenge, or showed up when Obafemi was doing his open challenge, and it took him 5 F5s, I believe, to put him down. And at that point, he's like screaming at him, "Stay down." If there's one thing about Brock is he wants to get his win back before he ultimately will put you over. He did that same thing with Cody Rhodes. Did I think he was going to be back? Yes. Did I think he was going to be back for Clash in Italy? No, not at all. But that card is appearing to become a huge. I mean that the Clash in Italy is going to be a damn good card based on, what all's going on with that right now. And as of right now, that takes place Sunday, May 31st, on ESPN from Turin, Italy. And that card, it looks like it's going to be pretty good. So originally I was not all excited about. Usually the Clash cards suck. I mean, I'm going to be honest. But this one has some pretty damn good matches. The fact that you're getting Oba versus, as of right now, you're getting Oba versus, yeah. Come on. Oba versus Brock. I just hit like the biggest pothole in the world. Oba versus Brock. Roman versus Fatu. And Cody versus Gunther. That should be a good show. I hope to God they find some way to get Liv Morgan on this show, because that would make so much sense. But God forbid that makes sense over in the world of the WWE. But yeah, Brock is back. Did not expect Brock to come back this early. Because I don't think SummerSlam is until August. And then I did think he was going to come back. Yeah, August 1st and 2nd from his hometown of Minneapolis, Minnesota. So I expect Brock to retire there. Will it be Oba? Will it be Gunther? Time will tell. If Brock wins this weekend, it will be Oba. But if Brock doesn't win this weekend, it will most likely be Gunther. But yeah, or not this weekend, but in Italy on May 31st. And that'll give them all of June, all of July, so 2 months to set up his retirement tour. It'd be cool to see if Gunther can win. If Gunther beats Cody, that would be an interesting way to play that out. but we'll see. Um, like I said though, this weekend we do have Saturday night's main event, and it will be on Peacock in the United States, YouTube internationally. This one takes place from Fort Wayne, Indiana. There is, you guessed it, 5 cards because God forbid, 5 matches because God forbid Triple H does 6. Like, he's got this fear of the number 6. Um, Before we get there, we do have Friday Night SmackDown, which is taking place from Lexington, Kentucky. And if I have any friends that's going there, please send me pictures, updates, videos. Let me know what's going on. I was going to try and make it up, but it's just not possible for me right now. So the thing that has me the most excited about this weekend, outside of Saturday night's main event, is Danhausen. Danhausen is going to be in Lexington, Kentucky. He's currently working on some kind of science project, most likely to bring Baron Corbin back, though Baron Corbin refuses to acknowledge that he isn't done with everything. He's saying he has international dates. Sean Ross Sapp on Fightful has reported he will be back and even called fucking Baron Corbin a liar for saying that he's not. I get it, kayfabe motherfucker, but he's coming back, and most likely he is the man on Danhausen's table. Now, the person I would prefer to see on Danhausen's table is not Baron Corbin, but it was Baron Corbin's tag team partner, Cruel. That would have been sick to see. Cruel is still under a MLW contract, so that's not going to happen. But it would have been fucking cool. But because they're coming to Lexington, Kentucky, Danhausen has a new t-shirt. That's right. Let me see if I can pull that up on the WWE shop. Danhausen has a Kentucky Wildcats t-shirt, which I really, really want, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get one due to the sizing, unfortunately. But we all know how much the WWE loves to work with fanatics, and let's see if I can get that up here. Let's do picture in picture. Nope, not that. Oh. Add a share screen, and Danhausen, bam. So we have the Danhausen t-shirt, which is currently available for $35. This is the first college wear shirt that they have made with Danhausen. Danhausen, of course, on the back in the Kentucky blue. You have Scratch the Wildcat in Danhausen makeup with Danhausen beside of him. You have teeth, you have bats, you have everything you can want. This should be a huge selling shirt because, one, they are going tomorrow to SmackDown. As you can see, this is a special event shirt. This isn't like something they're planning on keeping. I think you're going to see a ton of Danhausen t-shirts no matter where they go, whether it's a professional team, college team. I think you're going to see a lot of that in the next couple weeks because Danhausen merch sells like a motherfucker. And if you can do a crossover with somebody like, the Kentucky Wildcats, or I believe there's also, let's see here, I think they have something going on with the New York Knicks right now as well, because as we all know, Danhausen did not curse the Knicks. Currently, we have a Danhausen New York Knicks autographed belt, which is inscribed in the corner over here, not cursed. And it's crazy as fuck because Danhausen has been at the Eastern Conference final games, and the fact that Danhausen is basically everywhere. There's not a spot you're not going to see where Danhausen is not involved in some way or fashion. That Danhausen is all over the fucking news. And like I said, he has been everywhere. Before the Knicks game, he showed up on First Take again, and they're like, don't be cursing nobody. And he's like, I'm not cursing anybody except for the fucking Cavaliers. And then he shows up at game one of the Knicks versus Cavaliers, and it looks like the Cavaliers aren't going to be able to pull it off. I mean, they're going to pull off the win, and then the Knicks pull some kind of crazy ass comeback, which was insane, and Danhausen's streak continued. More about Danhausen. Danhausen has come out. He has signed with Adventure Media. Adventure Media is a media management company that will be focusing on growing Danhausen's intellectual property. The company Adventure Media works in film, television, digital broadcasting, and things like that. It's also known for working in the literary business with filmmakers, showrunners, but they've also expanded into sports media, becoming the destination for athletes, wrestlers, and broadcast personalities. And if we know one thing about Danhausen is he is a broadcast personality. He's proven that on his visits to the Knicks game. ESPN loves him. Look at how many times ESPN has brought him back, and him not even having a match, not even a talk of a match, just being there. So that is pretty damn cool for Danhausen that he's able to pull that off. And if there's one dude who he definitely worth all this stuff, and that's Danhausen. He's done so much cool shit, and I'm happy for him to see him all over the news. But before we get out of the WWE talk and into a little AEW and MMA talk, which we are going to be talking about this episode, including the Rousey news, let's give some predictions. And we're going to use the MyBookie odds, which come out as these odds were released at 6 p.m. today. MyBookie is where we're going to be using those from. They only have odds for 3 of the 5 matches. 3 of the 5. So the 5 matches on this card include Ethan Page versus Penta for the Intercontinental title. I believe this is going to be the main event of this card. You also have the Vision, which is Logan Paul and Austin Theory versus the Street Profits, which is Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford. You have Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair, and Alexa Bliss versus Jade Cargill, Michin, and B-Fab. You have Becky Lynch versus Sol Ruka in a non-title match. And then you have, for the women's tag team titles, the tag team champions of Paige and Brie Bella versus the Irresistible Forces, Lash Legend, and Nia Jax. So as of right now, the numbers that are in betting odds are for all 3 of the the 2 title matches on this card, and for the All right. So betting odds so far are out for Rhea Ripley, Alexa Bliss as the favorite over Jade Cargill and Michin. I would agree with that. I do believe that if you are wanting to put some money on this one is probably the best bet of the weekend. That being said, I'm not positive on that one. It is I think as of right now in storyline, Rhea Ripley, Alexa Bliss, and Charlotte Flair needs this win so that it can build to more things. That being said, Jade just lost the title. You can't build Michin and B-Fab without a win, but I do think the winner on this one is going to be Rhea, Alexa, and Charlotte. For the Intercontinental Championship match, they have Penta as a minus 300 over Ethan Page as a plus 200. Something tells me, part of me wants to go Ethan Page on this one. The reason I lean that way is Ethan got that one-on-one interview on television earlier this week. I could see, if you want to push him big, you push him with the title. That's how they did it. He came into NXT, he got the NXT title, and then he got the North American title, and he fucking ran with that thing, made it his own. I think he could do similar with the Intercontinental Championship belt, but I don't know if you want to do that on. I mean, you could do it on Saturday night's main event, but that is the. This is the. To me, this is the best match on the card. I'm gonna go Penta retains, but I want deep down Ethan Page to win. Um, the men's tag titles, they got the Vision as a minus 1,000 over the Street Profits, plus 550. I could definitely see Street Profits as the winner on that one. I see Sol Ruka over Becky Lynch because Sol hasn't got a win, and it's non-title, which means Becky can afford to lose. That way, Sol does beat Becky, then she gets her title match at whatever pay-per-view coming up. And then if they want to push Sol, they can go ahead and push her to give her the title, or they could have her lose to Becky again. And then the women's tag titles, I think, are going to stay with Paige and Brie Bella over the Irresistible Forces, because why would you just take it off of them to just give it right back to them? That one makes no sense. So I'm going Penta over Ethan, Vision over Street Profits, Rhea, Alexa, and Charlotte over Jade, Mishin, and B-Fab. I have Sol Ruka over Becky, and Paige and Brie Bella over Lash Legend. What do you guys think? Put it down in the chat. Who you think is going to win at Saturday night's main event on Peacock? But before we get into more stuff, I wanted to remind you guys to like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know when we're live, especially when we're late like we are tonight. That way you know, hey, this fucker's late, but he's coming still. So definitely thankful for anybody who stops in to watch this show or watches it anytime, day or night, 24/7, available on YouTube. And if you subscribe to the page, you can watch all of our videos, including our Rousey versus Carano video from this past week, all of our shorts, including the Evil Nate chainsaw dance, which has hit over 1 million views. That's right. I have a short over 1 million views right now on the channel, which is insane. But let's get into some AEW news. Again, the AEW Double or Nothing show will be its own show because there's so many matches. I want to just spend like 10 to 15 minutes on that tomorrow. So that will come out tomorrow. Probably going to record it when I get done here, but I wanted it to be its own video leading into it. So if you're looking for Double or Nothing predictions, come back tomorrow around 3 p.m. and we'll have that video out. But we are still going to talk about AEW, and we're going to start by the announcement of Mick Foley becoming All Elite. That's right. My man Cactus Jack, I think I got one right behind me. I can't reach it. Anyway, Cactus Jack is All Elite, motherfuckers. If you told me that he was going to be elite a year ago, I would have said, you're fucking out of your mind. But if there's one thing we know about Mick Foley is Mick stands for on his political beliefs, and he stands up for those things that he believes in. And earlier this year, he notified WWE that he was no longer going to be with extending his television debut stuff, like his stuff that he would do on like Hidden Treasures, I think is what it was called, or really any appearances for the company because of their allegiance with Donald Trump. And he was like, hey, I'm out, and I'm not renewing my Legends deal either, which is Legends deal runs up on the 1st of June, I believe. His last figure came out this past week from WWE. It's in Walmart's right now, and it is the Cactus Jack. It's from the night Cactus Jack come back into the WWE. His WWE debut after, I want to say, Dude Love had just got his ass kicked. He comes out against Hunter. And ironically, he's against Hunter again because he is now All Elite, and he will be doing the opening show for the buy-in show with Renee Paquette for Double or Nothing. God, there's so many fucking titles. I wanted to say he's doing the All In show for the All In. No, he's doing the Buy-In show for Double or Nothing. Tony Khan did talk about that on the media call this past week. Originally, that news was broke from John Alba of Sports Illustrated, and he said, I believe they're going to work with Mick Foley in some form or fashion, and we think it could happen as early as this week on the pay-per-view. And boy, is it, because he is now the opening match. I mean, not opening match. He is going to be the host of the Buy-In show, which keeps getting better. They just announced an hour ago a trios match for the Buy-In show between the Ops and the Death Riders. Again, going to talk about that card in full detail tomorrow. One of the reasons I wanted to wait was because of the fact that these cards are going to keep changing probably for the next day. The good thing is like what comes out tomorrow is probably it, because there's not going to be a Collision on Saturday. They did a 3-hour block this week, and then they're doing a 3-hour block next week, and then on Saturday, following the playoffs, they're going to do the preview show. So, but I wanted to look at some of these notes. Originally, like I said, he was asked about this from John Alba, and John Alba asked Mick, is he going to be a broadcaster only, or is he going to wrestle? And Tony Khan said that he was going to have to talk with Mick, but he would love for him to wrestle if Mick wanted to do that. Personally, I do not want to see a 60-year-old Mick Foley ever wrestle again. I know there was talks of him and MJF doing some kind of story. Can he take a bump? Sure, but for his health, I do not expect, nor do I want to see Mick Foley in the ring. Would I like to see Mick Foley at the desk as a commentator? Sure. Would I like to see him host events like the Buy-In show? Sure. Is there a place for Mick Foley in AEW? Yes. But god damn, no, do not. I don't want to see him wrestle. But Tony Khan went on to say that they plan to have him at all of the pay-per-views, aka he's going to be the Buy-In guy. And most likely, they needed this refresh because it's been Jeff Jarrett on these shows for the last year. Mick's a bigger name than Jeff Jarrett. You can mix up Mick and Jeff on those. I think you're going to see Mick Foley on a lot of those. You're also going to see Mick Foley on some television episodes. Basically, whatever Mick wants to do is what they're going to do, but most likely he's going to work as an ambassador for the company, similar to what Sting does. Sting shows up at the big press ticket tours. He does some media. I want to say, honestly, he's probably going to be more like the Big Show, Paul White, than he is like Sting, because Sting only shows up like when, in case of emergency, break glass, there's Sting. But I could see Mick being more involved than that. One of the good things is Mick will be able to continue to work on do his signings, and that is a lot of fucking money for Mick Foley. And WWE will allow him to do that. Similar to like they have Ric Flair under contract for some goddamn reason. And Rick is able to, do all his signings with, yeah. So that's kind of what I see them doing with Mick Foley. Another thing that came out last night is Willow Nightingale's injury. Evidently she was injured last Saturday and really fucked up her shoulder to the point where she had to pull out of the Owen Hart tournament, as well as she'll no longer be the TBS champion. They said they didn't expect this to happen, that it was a more serious injury than they were. They literally evidently found out about this like yesterday at the show. And that's just pretty crazy in that sense. Um Another thing from the press conference, they asked Tony, Dave Meltzer asked Tony, do you plan on adding another pay-per-view between Forbidden Door and All In? And they said they are looking to explore adding one there, but that they don't want to dilute their schedule, aka they are going to run one in July. But it might be a one-off show, not an annual show. Brandon Thurston asked the most important question at the media call, and that is AEW profitable? And Tony Khan did not expect this question because he danced around that motherfucker as best that he could. He said that basically this will be profit-wise their best year of money coming in. But Tony said that he has reinvested into a lot of projects. But this is their highest revenue year, but he will not say how much they are going to make. He also will not say how much he has spent. And I think he has spent a lot. Whether it be investing into the new TikTok thing that they're doing, because they're going to be doing TikTok pre-shows now for Dynamite, which I think is probably not a bad idea. They have the talent. They're already there, so go ahead and do that. But they also invested in the animated show on YouTube, which I don't know how well that's doing. I only watched the first one. So I don't know where all this money is that he's invested, but Tony Khan says he has reinvested a lot into the company. And it's kind of weird, at what point does AEW actually become profitable? They have their biggest television deal. They're getting bigger gates than ever. But Tony keeps spending. And I guess it really doesn't matter because he can spend all goddamn day. He could spend every penny they make and him still have money. So it doesn't really matter. They were asked, Sean Ross Sapp asked if they were going to do All In London again or in the States. They have not confirmed that location. And yeah, that's about all from the media call. So yeah, a ton of stuff happened in the AEW media call, but the big standing out points was he talks more into the injury of Willow Nightingale. They also get into more details about the profitability of the company and what they plan on doing with Mick Foley. Let's see here. Where's my notes? But yeah, make sure you come back tomorrow for the Double or Nothing prediction show, and we'll break that down on what I think is going to happen. So let's get to the big thing that happened this past weekend, and what I'm probably going to spend the most time on, and that is MVP MMA 1, Rousey versus Carano on Netflix. You guys know I watched it. I watched it here with you. It's a 5-card show. 5 fights, 5 finishes. It's the inaugural event on Netflix, and the number of the event was 17. Gina Carano hadn't fought in 17 years. Ronda Rousey defeats Gina Carano in 17 seconds. And the peak viewership during Rousey versus Carano was 17 million people. 17 is their magic number. And holy shit, did they get a lot of people to watch that and a lot of talk. So first off, a lot happened in 17 seconds. A lot happened in the world of MMA in 17 seconds. they made a lot of fucking money. Ronda Rousey, it said to make $2 million. She made a lot more than that because that's just the disclosed number to the state. Um, Basically, what this did is it proved that if you put on a spectacle card, people will watch. Pride did this for years. In Japan, this was nothing. This is how MMA got so big overseas, was these freak cards. Like, I don't know how many times we saw mismatched cards in Japan. But now we're seeing it with MMA through MVP from Jake Paul. And I don't think anybody going into this expected Gina Carano to win. I don't think Gina Carano expected to win. To quote Luke Thomas, you had the winner of The Biggest Loser versus against the best athlete, best female athlete in not modern mixed martial arts, but like in the last decade. No, I don't even know how to put it, but like you had Gina, who was, her focus was making weight. Ronda's focus was putting on muscle. If you look at the two, Gina looks small. She looked tiny. She's taller than Ronda, but Ronda looked like pure muscle at 142, where Gina did not. Gina looked like Gina was dancing coming into the cage. It looked like she was excited, but the skill level was just never there. While I was watching the fights, people in the chat was like cheering for Gina, and I'm like, that's not going to happen. Like, Gina Carano was never going to win that fight. If anything, Gina Carano was going to lose later in the round. I was calling 2 minutes. I really thought Ronda might give her a chance to throw some hands. But Ronda did the smart thing. She went for the takedown, started throwing punches. When Gina went to throw back, she caught the arm. The fight was over. So I definitely don't. Ronda went in the way Ronda does. And the thing that drove me nuts was how many people said this was a fixed fight. Whew. If you think that Rousey versus Carano was a fixed fight, you know nothing about Ronda Rousey in MMA. And I think a lot of fans don't. I think people know her from the Holly Holm fight or from the WWE, or they know her from attempting to go into movies or from Entourage. I don't think they know Ronda Rousey, the armbar killer. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I've always been a Ronda Rousey fan. I was a huge Ronda Rousey fan going when she first came in from Strikeforce. I mean, hell, there wouldn't have been women in the UFC if not for Ronda Rousey. Would there have been at some point? Sure. But it would have been 5-6 years after, maybe. I don't see it. And Ronda was a fucking killer. And Ronda did what classic Ronda does. If Ronda Rousey's going up against somebody who's not on her level, she wins in under 30 seconds. She did it against Kat Zingano. She did it against Betch Kohea. She did it against Sarah McMahon. Like, Ronda is known for grabbing that arm and tapping that bitch out. So it's not unheard of. So anyone who thinks that shit was fixed is fucking stupid. The next fight I wanted to talk about was really, in my opinion, the real main event. The real reason most people was watching. And that was the King of Violence, Mike Perry, defeating Nate Diaz in 2 rounds Holy fuck, was this a bloody match? Nate did not look great. I'll be honest. It looked like Nate Diaz did not even really train for this fight. He looked slow. His he just didn't look good. Nate didn't get knocked out. But Nate did. Nate was bleeding so fucking bad that Stitch Duran, his corner man, threw in the towel for him. Stitch said he ended up getting 8 staples and I think 13 stitches. The stitch, the cut above his eye, which was preventing him from being able to see, said he hit the vein. That Stitch, that's why Stitch called the fight, was because he put the stuff, they used something that they put inside the cut to instantly basically clot it up and stop the bleeding, and it just pushed it out. And he said he knew once that happened that Nate was done. There was no way he could go back out. He couldn't see out his, I want to say it was on his right side. Nate even said, I couldn't see out my eye. Like, Nate, what's crazy is the fact that MVP is like, hey, let's do Nate versus Perry too. Let's do it in Sacramento. And I'm thinking, did they watch the same fight I did? But then I look back at the record of MVP. Every MVP boxing card ends with, hey, let's do it again. Because they're not fight promoters. They're event promoters. And they saw, hey, these guys brought a lot of people to the dance. Let's just do it again. And I think if you do it again, it's going to end the same fucking way. Now, Nate Diaz says he wants to continue fighting, that he's going to fight forever. I think what Nate Diaz is waiting on is Conor McGregor's 2-fight deal to run out, and you do Nate versus Conor in either MVP, bare knuckle boxing, I don't know, but anywhere with the UFC because they can make more money there. And I honestly, at the end of the day, think Conor's also trying to run out that contract. And I'll talk about Conor in a moment. But yeah, Nate didn't look great. And that's a shame because I'm a huge Nate Diaz fan. But Mike Perry has been knocking motherfuckers out and cutting them like crazy in bare knuckle boxing. And he's going back to bare knuckle boxing, but I wouldn't be shocked if you see Mike Perry back in the octagon. I don't think he'll go back to the UFC, but I think you'll see him more in this MVP environment. I wouldn't be shocked if you saw Mike Perry headline the next MVP MMA show because they say they're doing it again. They say they want to do 12 shows a year. I think that's a little ambitious. I think with the talent level that's out there, I think you'd be better off doing like quarterly shows. So they did their first one in April. No, they did their first one in May, maybe June, July, August. That ballpark. You definitely don't want to run a show in July because they might try to, but that's a fast turnaround. The one thing people was hoping for was maybe Ronda come back because you have this Saturday headlined the MVP W show, the women's boxing show on ESPN is Holly Holm. So you could have had the chance to do Ronda versus Holly too. I don't think Ronda Rousey wanted that. I think if she was, I do think she has a better chance of beating Holly now than she did then. But I honestly think Ronda sold them wolf tickets thinking that she was going to help them. And I don't think you're going to see Ronda Rousey again. And if you do, it's going to be on an easy fight where she makes a couple $1 million again. I don't see it. Francis Ngannou did exactly what I thought he would by knocking out Philippe Lins. And yeah, so like this card was exactly how I expected it. JDS looked like shit and got knocked out. I don't know. It was just one of those cards where it was like one thing after another. It was knockout, 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 which is exciting. But I think Netflix would have been happier had this gone on a little bit longer. One of the things I hated about this card, and I hate about MMA in general, is the pacing. Because you don't know when a fight's going to end, but you know when you want somebody to walk. So you got to kill time. And that part sucks. I wish you could just kind of be like, okay, this fight went. We're going sooner. But had they done that, they would have probably had Ronda Rousey walking in the cage around 11 o'clock, and they wanted her to walk at 10. You got to think they had this thing paced in 15, 15, 25, 25. So they planned on Ronda Rousey walking around midnight. And that's what happened. I even said in my chat that night, she's going to walk at midnight. And that's what she did. Let's see what else we got. The one standout thing that happened outside of that is Dana White took to Instagram, which is funny because they were at the Meta Apex because Mark Zuckerberg sponsors the UFC Apex. So, of course, Dana was getting paid to make the announcement. But as soon as Francis Ngannou started walking to the cage last Saturday, Dana broke the news. International Fight Week, Conor McGregor versus Max Holloway 2. The first match between Max and Conor took place on, I want to say it was the first Fox card in, let's see, it took place on UFC Fight Night 26. It's the first time they ever dropped the lights on an undercard fight. August 17th, 2013. So by the time they walk again, it will have been over 12 years since these two have fought. McGregor did win the last fight. I also think he tore his ACL. Yeah, McGregor took down Holloway to the ground, and where he suffered an ACL and a meniscus tear, but he still was able to rely on his grappling and win in the third round. Conor went on a tear after that. He would go on and become the featherweight champion. He would go on to win he won the 145 belt, and then he beat what is his name? God, I'm blanking. I need my notes. I was trying to do it all off of memory. After he defeated Conor, after Conor defeated him, he went on I want to say it was a 6-fight win streak before ultimately losing to Khabib. Let's see here. I'm getting Conor's record up. Conor McGregor. So Conor is currently let's see here. He is 22-6 with 2 losses by knockout and 4 losses by submission. His last 2 wins were his last 2 fights were losses. Both to Dustin Poirier. One of which was him breaking his fucking shin. And that was in July of 2021. Since 2016, when Conor McGregor beat Eddie Alvarez to become the lightweight champion. You ready for this? Conor McGregor has won 1 fight. In the last 10 years, Conor McGregor has fought 5 times with 1 victory over an aging Donald Cerrone that he beat him by with a head kick and punches at UFC 246. He lost twice to Dustin Poirier, and he lost to Khabib. Prior to losing to Khabib, he beat Eddie Alvarez for the lightweight championship. He beat Nate Diaz in the second fight, lost to him in the first, and then he unified the featherweight titles, which he never fought for again, as he beat Jose Aldo in 2015 in 13 seconds. So, in his career, Conor has only lost 4 UFC fights. The problem is Conor has won 1 fight in the last 10 years. So let's go to Max Holloway, his opponent. Max Holloway has, let's see here, record. There it is. Max Holloway is 27-9 with 1 loss, 1 submission loss, and 7 decision loss. He is coming off a loss to Charles Oliveira for the BMF belt. A match that most people did not see coming. Everybody thought that that Max was going to beat Charles Oliveira with his hands. That did not happen. Prior to that, he beat Dustin Poirier in Dustin's retirement match in July of 2025. But before that, he lost the featherweight title to Ilia Topuria. Before that, he won the BMF belt over Justin Gaethje. He beat Jung Chang Soon. Arnold Alban he lost the featherweight title to Volosky. Since losing to Conor McGregor, after losing to Conor McGregor, he went on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 fight win streak before ultimately losing to Dustin Poirier in 2019, a win that he got back. Since then, since losing to Conor, he has won the featherweight championship twice. I believe twice. No, he won it once, and then he won the BMF title. He's fought for it several times. The thing about this fight is Max Holloway fights at 145. His most recent fight was at 155. This fight will take place at 170. Max Holloway has never fought at 170. Max Holloway probably doesn't weigh 170 after being rehydrated. Max is going to be very much smaller than Conor. I wouldn't doubt Conor comes into this fight weighing 200 pounds as he walks into the octagon. He's had 5 years to train. I will be shocked if Conor McGregor doesn't look bigger going into this fight. That being said, it would not shock me to see Max Holloway knock out Conor McGregor. You heard me say it. It would not shock me to see Max Holloway knock out McGregor. As of right now, Holloway is the favorite. Let's see what the betting odds are. Currently, he is a 450. Max Holloway is a 450 favorite, and Conor McGregor is a 350 underdog. So, yeah, Holloway is coming into this is the favorite. Conor was coming off of a injury most guys don't come back from. The thing to watch with Conor McGregor is he has 2 fights left in the UFC. He did not re-sign a contract. He has 2 fights. After this, he has 1 fight. Conor has talked about wanting to be a free man for a long time. And after this, he will be. Conor owns bare knuckle boxing. He would love to fight there. You can't tell me he doesn't want to fight Jake Paul. You can't tell me he doesn't want to fight Nate Diaz. Like, Conor wants those big fights. His biggest payday did not come in the octagon. It come in a boxing ring when Conor took on Floyd for the 50th fight. So, The it's just I see Conor McGregor coming back to end this career in the not end his career to end his UFC contract more than I see him coming back to win. Does he want to win? Fuck yeah, it's Conor. He's going to get paid a lot of money. If he wins, he's going to make a lot more money. But I don't see him fighting in the UFC outside of this. This is the first time he's fought in the UFC without the pay-per-view numbers. And if there's one thing Conor cared about was selling the pay-per-view. This fight takes place in July. It's May. You haven't had a press conference. You haven't done anything because all they care about is selling some tickets because they don't have to worry about pay-per-views anymore. Will Conor be at the UFC Freedom 250? Probably. If I'm Dana, I put him out there. The question is does Conor's past hurt this? Conor has been basically all but convicted of rape in Ireland. The people of Ireland fucking hate him now. He tried getting a permit just to do things in his house, and they were like, fuck you. That's how despised he is in Ireland now. Once the, King of Ireland, now after all the allegations, all the lawsuits, Conor's not the Conor he was before. I don't think that will affect him, especially in the current state of MMA. But I don't know. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with the Conor McGregor versus Max Holloway too. Like I said, that takes place July 11th, T-Mobile Arena, International Fight Week. That card is looking to be a good one, and you can watch that on Paramount Plus. Another fight you can watch on Paramount Plus takes place in just 2 weeks. That is the UFC 250 Freedom 250 card at the White House. I'm not going into my thoughts on the card. I'll save that for my live show that night, because I plan on going live on June 14th for this fight, which, like I said, it takes place at the White House, on the White House lawn. Before it, though, they're going to have a huge event, a fan fest, that is free to the fans with tons of people, and including 8 UFC stars. And some of them are questioning, them. You had some of them not knowing what they were doing there. Then you have some of them who's like anti-Trump, but there's some that's anti-trans. Like, there are people out there that people are like, this is the group you're sending. But they are planning on sending Braun Breaker, the Usos, Jimmy and Jay, the United States champion. Of course, you got to have the United States champion out there at the UFC Freedom card. So you're going to have Trick Williams as well as Tiffany Stratton, The Miz, Chelsea Green. If there's an event, they're sending Chelsea, and Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair said she knew she had a signing, but she did not know what kind of signing, that she had actually spent money on an outfit. And then she's like, oh, I'm going to this. They said that a lot of these people didn't know what was going on. This is TKO making them go, I'm sure. But people were pretty shocked that Chelsea was going to be there. But Chelsea's like, I'm doing my job. It's what I'm supposed to do. That's where I'm going to be there. I don't know. You can currently request tickets. You can get 2 tickets for free. Like I said, the Fan Fest takes place June 12th through the 14th. It's going to be on the mall in DC. And I think that the tickets are also going to be there for the press conference. Like, visually, this is going to be cool as shit. The press conference is going to take place at the Lincoln Memorial. Like, how badass is that to see that kind of spectacle? The Lincoln Memorial is one of those places when I went that I was like, this is fucking hallowed ground. Like, I was so emotional there, and It's just crazy. The Fan Fest is going to take place at the Ellipse, where you can watch the event as well as meet the UFC stars. And then the fight takes place on the 14th. So the Fan Fest is on the 13th. The press conference is on the 12th, and the White House Freedom card takes place on the 14th. I wonder why it's the 14th. Find out more when we get to the White House card, because I will be telling it all. But I will definitely, like I said, be live on June 14th. That is 3 weeks from now, I think. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. 4 weeks from now. So a month from today, around that time, White House Freedom, I will be live. I'll be going ahead and making an event for it in the next couple weeks. Had a lot of people show up to the first watch along. I'm going to kind of stick it to UFC events from now on, or MMA events, because I like to watch wrestling a little closer than I like to watch MMA. MMA, I just want to talk shit and have fun. And the White House UFC Freedom 250 card is going to be a good time to do that on. But that's all I got for this week. It was a long one. Like I said, didn't even get to the Double or Nothing stuff. So make sure you come back tomorrow for Double or Nothing previews. I'm going to try and record that in the morning. I don't think I want to do that tonight. But my Double or Nothing previews will be tomorrow. But make sure you like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And we will be back next week for more wrestling talk next Thursday, hopefully at 8 o'clock at our normal time. Until then, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, and tell your friends. Peace.